Hello and welcome. My name is TyrionLanstr. Now, for today, I want to talk about the Siege of Winterfell, and specifically around some of the strategy around how this event works. So, I've noticed for a while that the actual battle mechanic on Siege of Winterfell feels a little bit odd. If I just take a look at a report, you don't get a whole lot of information. I can go to the battle log here, and I don't want to show this person's stats, but I can go to the battle log and it would show me, some skills are randomly used and some normal attacks do a certain amount of damage. You have to get that by scrolling down, but it's not really helpful. And I for the longest time wanted to find, maybe somewhere in the rules, was there going to be something about, how this battle mechanic worked? And I looked through and honestly, there's not a lot. But I did some searching for you guys, and I found kind of all of the details about it. And the way I found it was if you go to the battle experience, you go to the description there, it'll give you a little bit of explanation for specifically how the rage mechanic works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the available commanders. I'm just going to show you kind of what these different commanders' active skills within Siege of Winterfell do, and then talk a little bit about the rage component. So let's just take my first commander here. We have Seg. Seg is obviously a very strong commander. He gives total attack and total defense 75% each. Not quite as good as if it was a specific troop. Let's say if I looked at Garel, I'm getting 150% each, which is obviously much better. This is basically just 5 times the amount that you would get normally. So it is a big buff, and that is a huge thing you should be paying attention to. But right now I want to pay attention to the top bit. It says Aftershock, and then it says the rage cost is 1,000, the cooldown is 12 seconds. Then it says that it deals skill damage equivalent to 360% of the troop's attack, and reduces the target's defense and health by 150%. And then it also inflicts Weakened and Fearful, which increases the target's attack damage taken by 30% and the counterattack damage taken by 50%. So whenever you have an attack, there's also a counterattack. That's why you can get hit by multiple people and still be attacking them back. The counterattacks typically do a little bit less damage than the attack. There wasn't any details about how that metric is done. It just says a little less. But it is important to note that that's what those two things are talking about. So what's the deal with this whole rage thing and the cooldown? What's going on? So I want to pull this up. So this is a screenshot of the specific part regarding skill casting under those rules that I was talking about, that again can only be found when you go into the battle experience to test it. Then they have a little description of this for you. But I want to know what this talks about. So it doesn't give an exact metric for how much rage you get at a time, but it does tell you that you'll gain rage over time during a battle. You can also gain them by continuously attacking or counterattacking different troops. Like, you're just going to keep generating as they attack you and you counterattack, or as you attack them. Now, I think this is really interesting. The third says the side with fewer soldiers will gain rage faster. Now, again, they don't give us any more details, so I don't know if this means fewer and fewer soldiers means more and more rage, if this just means it does an evaluation of which of the two sides has fewer troops, and then that side gets the rage quicker. Again, we don't really know. We can only speculate, but that is definitely a really interesting, part of this battle mechanic. So this is what I think is probably the most important bit. When multiple commanders are leading, Chief Commander's active strategic skill will be used first, then the Deputy Commander 1, then Deputy Commander 2, then back to the Chief Commander in a cycle. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like that. Now, 5 says when the troop's rage reaches the maximum, which is 1,000, the commander's active strategic skills will be automatically used in order, and in that order we just said. If one of the strategic skills cannot be used due to low rage, the skill cycle will start from this commander again the next time the rage reaches 1,000. So what that means is that if I go back over here, if I look at Seg, if I have Seg as my lead commander, when I get to 1,000 rage, it's going to use Seg's skill, and then it's going to stop, because that used all of the rage. I'm down to 0. But if I look at someone like Garel, he only uses 650 of the rage. So I would have 350 left after Garel uses his, And if I have another commander that can use their ability, then they'll use it as well. Additionally, I'm going to get back up to 1,000 much quicker if I'm already starting at 350 from Garell's ability to be able to use another ability again. So I think that this is really important to recognize that the order of your commanders really does matter. I think that it's important to kind of plan out who do I want using what ability when, and kind of what order do I want them to go in. And I'll give you a good example, right? So we just saw that in Segs, it's going to reduce the target's defense and health by 150%. So ideally, I want someone to be hitting them after that can be dealing a lot of damage, because this is when they're going to be debuffed for the next 7 seconds, and hopefully I can get enough rage up in 7 seconds to use a new attack. But I want to kind of order it where I'm going to be attacking next, because I just debuffed them a lot. I want to attack now. Whereas someone like Garell, who is going to, so he's going to reduce them by a lot too, so maybe I want to make sure I can attack after him. Maybe if I can do Garell and then someone else smaller, who has less than 350 rage, I can use them like right back to back and get the debuff and then hit them. So this is all kind of some of the interesting things that you should be paying attention to when forming your lineup. So what I want to do is, just looking at the rest of this, really, not a whole lot else that I think was really important, but I just, maybe I guess important to realize that, like at the end, you lose all your rage, you'll just kind of reset everything. Yeah, but that's really pretty much it. That's it within this little bit. So coming back over here, let's just take a look. I'm going to do them kind of by troop. Let's take a look. I'm just going to focus on ones I own, which is pretty much all of them except for the crazy commanders. But let's take a look at someone like Rob. So Rob deals skill damage up to 600% of the enemy attack, can do it up to 3 targets. It's an area of effect, and then it has this chance to trigger Dispel, which removes all the buffs. So that's 900. So that's going to cost basically all of it. Something to kind of consider is, okay, well, maybe I don't want to use one that's going to cost me all of my rage. So let's look around. So we've got 500 from Haley, 600 from Arya, 800 from Sansa, only 400 from Russell. So that's one to highlight. Okay, so Russell only cost me 400 rage, and you can see he's dealing 600% of the troops' attack, and it reduces the target's rage by 200, and reduces their total attack, defense, and health by 100%. So I think Russell's ability is really strong because it's so cheap. That makes it really valuable because you can use multiple skills in one. Chris is expensive 850. Annie's 1,000 full max. Lyanna is another cheap one. She's only 500. And if we read hers, she increases the attack damage by 45% and does Tranquility, or the chance to use Tranquility. And this has 75% chance to trigger, removing all debuffs on you for 4 seconds. So not like the greatest ability in the world, to be honest. It's not dealing a lot of damage. It gives you a little bit of an attack buff, and it can kind of clean off a lot from someone else. So probably a good one to have later on in the battle, where after your enemies used a lot of debuffs on you, you can kind of clean them off with Lyanna. Let's look at some other cavalry ones. So Mango is 800. That's going to be pretty expensive. Janna is 600. So you could use Janna and Russell together in theory. Janna's dealing 540% of the troops' attack, and inflicts this Fear of War, where it has a 75% chance to fall into Fear of War, and they can't attack or counter, which is huge. I mean, that's the main source of damage. So maybe I want to use Russell and Janna together because those kind of synergize kind of nicely. Meryl, that's another 650, so just a little bit too expensive. Enzo is 800. Layla's 1,000, another 1,000. Kevin's 1,000. And that's it for cavalry. So if I'm doing cavalry, the only two that I could really do together would be Russell and Janna, or Russell and Lyanna. But unfortunately, all the rest are just, frankly, too expensive. Let's see if we find any other ones that are cheap that we could synergize. So Soren's 400, so you could use Soren with someone else. Sheila's 400. Obene is only 300. So you'll notice that these bowman commanders, there's a lot of flexibility there. I mean, if you look at this, he's dealing skill damage equivalent to 880% of the target of the troops' attack, and then can do this, up to 3 targets in a cone area. And it can increase their skill damage taken by 50% for 7 seconds. So that's a really, really strong ability, doing all that damage in an area of effect, and it's only 400. Sheila, another one that's going to be really strong, 600% of the troops attack. And then it's also going to do all this skill damage. These are both really strong. Got another one dealing a ton of damage, increases your target's rage by 150. Always good. So you can, in theory, you've got 300, 400, and 400, but because Obeans increases the rage of your troops by 150, you could, in theory, do Obean's ability, then Sheila. So you have 1,000, down 300, but up 150. So that's basically taking you to 850. Then you have enough to use Sheila and Soren's ability. So you could use all 3 of those in one go, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it looks like, I mean, to me, part of this is why the bowman commanders are so popular, is because so many of these abilities can be used with other ones, and that makes them really deal a lot of damage. So I guess that I'm hoping that this helps people to kind of get a better understanding of what these different guys do. I would invite you to look through all of these. I may do different videos later breaking down each of them. I kind of talked a little bit about the cavalry and bowmen, but I'll maybe go into a little more detail about recommended troop combinations and whatnot. But I hope this kind of helped you to just understand what to even be looking for with the Siege of Winterfell battles, and get a better understanding of how to put together a lineup that can really synergize well together, and what these mechanics are and how they work. So I hope this helped. I know Siege of Winterfell is a very popular event. I really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun, but it's always good to get a better understanding of it. So I hope that this helped, and until next time, my name is TyrionLanstr. See you then.